Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear?
Bear. Men are scary.
With a bear.
What I've heard about bears, they don't always attack you, right? Unless you like fuck with them. So maybe a bear.
Depends what man, but probably a bear.
Oh, 100% a bear, which is like terrifying to say, but
Definitely a bear. Some men are very scary out there.
a bear.
I would say a man.
Are y'all realizing that myself and other women are saying bear because we would quite literally rather... Exactly. At least a bear wouldn't fucking show videos and photos and dap up their buddies after. At least a bear couldn't say the words, well, she liked it, she asked for it. A bear would probably leave you alone even after you were dead. To get most bears to leave you alone, all you have to do is scream loud enough. Can't say the same. Women are asking their guy best friends, their boyfriends, their husbands, their fucking fathers, and they're all saying the same thing. Why do you think that is?
Unpopular opinion, I'm choosing the man. Everyone on my For You page right now is debating this one question. Who would you rather be alone with in the woods? A man or a bear? And from what I'm seeing, everyone's choosing the bear. Are you guys okay? Are you guys good? Never have I ever Googled what to do if I see a man. Never have I ever practiced the stance I'm going to use if I happen to run into a man. Call me delusional, but I am not surviving casually running into a bear. A man? I feel like I have a chance. I legitimately have a fighting chance.
Not really sure why this is a debate, but here we are. And I've seen a whole lot of comments from people who don't understand women's stories or statistics. So to be clear, the answer is unequivocally a bear, and here are the two reasons why. First, the numbers. In the United States, there are 340,000 bears and about 57 million hikers, 26 million of which are female. Since 2020, there have been exactly 7 women killed by bears and 15 non-fatal attacks on women. In the US, there are also 165 million men and 168 million women. Since 2020, there have been 8,000 fatal attacks on women by men and 1.6 million non-fatal attacks. Yeah, but what about adjusting for population size? Okay, fine. But first, just so we're clear, this is an impossible hypothetical because in the US, the Departments of Natural Resources in every state regulate the population of bears. They do not regulate the population of men. Also, I should note, statistics on bear attacks are not infamously underreported, unlike the other side of the equation, where statistics show that only about 1/5 of violent encounters against women by men are actually reported, and less than 1/5 of those actually lead to an arrest, and less than 1/100th of those lead to a felony conviction, which means 1% of the ones that are actually reported, meaning not only that men who perpetrate these acts are much more likely to go free than they are to be punished, but also have the opportunity to do it again. In the United States, when a woman who brings a legal claim of self-defense, they are 2 times more likely to be found guilty of a crime themselves than when a man brings up a claim of self-defense. It's almost like we just don't believe women or something.
So men have been saying that they would rather pick the bear over a woman, and let's talk about it. If that's what you would pick, that's what you would pick. I'm not going to talk you out of that. But for men saying this, y'all don't really mean that. You're just saying it because we said that we would pick the bear over y'all, and that bothers y'all. Y'all don't like the idea that we would rather be stuck in the woods with a bear than with you. Women will do things in response to the harm that y'all do, and then y'all want to get vindictive and say, well, we could do that too. We could do that too. You're not the only ones that can do that. We could do it too. And y'all don't really have a real reason to do it. And notice the difference of reasonings. We're talking about being assaulted and brutalized by men, whereas y'all are talking about not wanting to be stuck in the woods with a single mother or be stuck in the woods with a woman that would use you for your money. Do we see the difference there? Y'all don't see women as threats the way that we see y'all as threats. The things that y'all are worried about when it comes to us is not violence. Y'all are worried about body counts. Y'all are worried about whether a woman has kids or not. Y'all are worried about not getting used for your money. All non-life-threatening things. I'm trying to figure out what your criminal record is because I don't want to be in a relationship with a domestic abuser and you're just worried about how many people I slept with because you think if I slept with too many people, my value has gone down. We're being honest, a lot of y'all would choose to be in the forest or in the woods with a woman. And whether your intention for wanting to be in the forest or the woods with us is good or bad, you know that more than likely we are not going to be a threat to you because we have not proven ourselves to be. And y'all know that.
Hey everyone, everyone, it's Brie. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back in another video, and I'm here to talk about a topic that has really taken the internet by storm for the past couple of days, and it's about this whole man versus bear conversation. For those of y'all who aren't aware, there's basically this video that was filmed where, you know, those street interviews where you have someone that goes around with a microphone and a camera and they'll ask random strangers, you know, out and about a specific question. And so the question that went viral recently was, would you rather be stuck in the middle of the woods with a bear or a man? And this question was asked to women specifically, and almost all the women, if not all the women, picked the bear. And this sparked a lot of debate online as to why women would pick a wild animal over a man. And I really wanted to talk about this because I think it's a really important conversation to have for those who are open and willing to hear these women out, right? Because a lot of people had mixed opinions about this. Of course, you had, just from what I've seen, you had a lot of men who got very angry that the women chose the bear. You had a lot of men who were saying, like, you know, why in the world would you pick an animal that, you know, you don't know what they're gonna do, you don't know how they're gonna act? Why would you pick the bear over the man?
Oh, would you rather choose a bear or a man? It don't sound like that lady wanted to choose the bear. It sounded like she wanted to choose the man instead. If you were stuck in the woods, you know what? Let's flip the script. Fellas, would you rather be stuck in the woods with a woman or a bear? Let me know, because I think, you know what? I think I would rather choose the bear, because at least with the bear's not going to just date me for my money and in the divorce take half my stuff or more. Like, at first it was questionable. I'm like, dang, what's more scarier, a woman or a bear? Because a woman lies. A woman will lie on you. You know how many football players I've seen get lied on and lose their whole NFL chance and career behind a woman lying, saying they did something they didn't do? Yeah, I think a bear. I'm going bear, bro. I'm going bear. I don't care. I'm going bear. Yeah. I'm going bear, because at least a bear is going to get it over with. A woman is going to rip me of my dignity and my freedom at the same time, and my finances. So, yeah, I'm going bear.
So a lot of you guys have asked me about this topic about a woman being alone with a man or a bear in the woods. I don't even know why this is a conversation. Like, it's obviously the man. And it's crazy because a bunch of these women are acting like all men are Jeffrey Dahmer or something. From the most recent I could find, about 1.4% of the adult male population is in prison. Of that, about half of that is for violent crime. So about 0.7% of males are locked up for violent crime. Which means the vast majority of men are not like that and do not do those things. Let me say this in a different way. If you were in school and your teacher came back and on your paper you made a 99.3 on your assignment, would you say that's a good grade? Yes, you would. The vast majority of men would do nothing to you if they saw you in the woods. You're far more likely to be helped by a man in the woods than to be harmed, especially if you look distressed or like you need help. Now, I've seen people asking about their daughters. Let's say you did have a daughter. Would you want a man or a bear? A man any day of the week. For one, that bear cannot communicate. That bear couldn't help get your daughter anywhere. That bear couldn't get your daughter to safety. That bear couldn't get your daughter out of the woods. That bear wouldn't even care. Your daughter would be lucky that that bear did not slaughter her. So this is from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Read the highlight below me. The first thing, never approach bears. Always remain at least 100 yards away from the bears, or the length of a football field. That's the first rule. Stay away. That's not because they're safe, predictable, and lovely. No, it's because they could rip you apart, and they have done so. I'm choosing the man every single time.
And people had a lot of interesting thoughts and opinions. And again, I think it actually brought about a deeper discussion about women feeling like they are not safe around men. This is a conversation that's been happening for years and years and years. And it's sad that even to this day, a lot of men don't understand what a lot of women go through or what a lot of women have went through, and just the victim blaming and the victim shaming that happens when women have these, you know, really scary and unsafe encounters with men that makes them on guard, that makes them want to choose the bear. Instead of them, you know, being open to receiving that feedback and, you know, hearing, you know, these women's stories and understanding where they're coming from, they're instead getting defensive and telling women that they're crazy and that they're over exaggerating, and saying that, you know, in instances where a man put a woman in an unsafe environment, that it was somehow the woman's fault. And so I really wanted to dive into a lot of these topics and a lot of these think pieces surrounding this whole entire video. Okay, so we're hopping on Twitter just to see a few of these tweets. So there was this poll that went around. I'm not sure if the video came first or this tweet came about first, but there's this tweet that was made that basically had the poll, and I'm actually glad that they added options for both, you know, to identify if you're a man or a woman in this poll. But, you know, as you can see, someone said, let's settle this man versus bear question. Would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear or with a man? No, you don't get to choose the man, and you don't know the man. So, yeah, I'll get into that in a second. But as you can see, this poll, 73% of people picked a bear that identified as a woman. And yeah, so as you can see, many women, you know, are choosing the bear, and, you know, a lot of them have different reasons. I wanted to call out this part right here where she said, no, you don't get to choose the man, because I did see that argument rolling around on Twitter. Like, there are men saying like, oh, what if the man is your father? Or what if the man is your brother? And it's like, can we please stop being dense, please? Like, in any of these scenarios where you're like, okay, can you have one or can you have the other? Obviously, there are nuances and other factors that you don't get to just pick and choose. Like, you don't get to just curate your perfect situation. This is the situation. Like, random man, random bear, choose your pick. You know, someone said, I keep thinking like if the bear catches me, it'll unalive me, but if the man catches me, he might do worse before he lets me not be alive. And for those of y'all, because I've seen a few people online, not necessarily in my comment section, but I've seen a lot of people online say, why do y'all keep saying unalive? It's not to be politically correct. It's literally because these platforms like YouTube and Instagram, a lot of these platforms don't like it when you literally say the word. I'm low-key taking a risk even showing the word on screen. Like, they literally will flag your content. Sometimes they'll take down your content or demonetize your content. And so just to be safe and within the guidelines of the platform, that is why we can't say certain words. So just in case you guys are like, why is she saying unalive? It's because there's just certain guidelines in where if you say certain words, they'll flag you. Yeah, this was one narrative that I saw going around, is that, you know, if a bear were to attack them, it, you know, it's just an attack, whereas a man could do so much more that would cause more pain, more mental turmoil, like, and it would be a way more of a traumatizing experience. We just had this discussion at work at a hair salon, so all women, and every single one of us immediately said bear. Someone said, give me a panda bear in the woods any day. Again, you don't get to choose which bear it is. You also don't get to pick if the bear is friendly. Like, come on, y'all. I also wanted to call out some of these other tweets that I saw in regards to this topic. Someone said maybe men should reflect more on why we're having the man versus bear argument, which I agree. There were a lot of men that were just really, really upset that women were picking the bear, but I feel like they were upset more at the women than what would cause the women to say a bear. And obviously, again, it goes back to my point that a lot of women just don't feel safe around men at this point, and so they're willing to take their chances with a bear. Now, y'all are probably wondering what I would pick, right? For me personally, would I pick the man or would I pick the bear? I think for me, and it's difficult because again, I 100% understand why women are saying the bear, so please don't take this answer as me negating what women are saying or trying to invalidate, you know, women's feelings on this topic, because trust me, I'm with the women on this one. But if you just want to know out of curiosity what I would choose, I probably would choose the man, just because I'm thinking of it from the perspective of which situation am I more likely to make it out alive of. And although there are definitely men who, if they have you alone in the woods, God knows what they would do to you, and you know, you could have the same result with a random man in the woods as you would a bear. But I think, just from my point of view, it's like, okay, which situation do I have the best chance at surviving, I guess. But with that being said, though, right, there is something to be said about why women are picking the bear, right? And it was really like just horrible to see so many men come up with all these different think pieces and trying to actively avoid accountability and trying to avoid the question and the big issue that's causing these women to even pick the bear in the first place. A lot of them are choosing to completely overlook the conversation that needs to be had, and that conversation being, we need to create safer spaces for women. And again, I think this also boils down to men holding other men accountable, which I feel like we're lacking some of that, to be honest. I don't think enough men are holding other men accountable. Now, obviously, you can't control other people, because I know I'm going to get that too. Like, oh, I can't control what other men do. Cool. But again, it goes back to, again, holding people accountable and having certain standards for yourself. Like, there are literally men who are saying stuff like, actually, let's pull up. Let's see what the men are saying. Someone said, film yourself in a bear cage alone and put it on X. We'll believe y'all then. I don't think women are lying. I don't think women are lying when they said that as we saw in the poll, right? Not every single woman would choose the bear, but a lot of them would, and I see why. Because we don't feel protected. Granted, do you feel protected, with the bear? No. But heck, I would make the argument that, there are certain tactics that you can use with certain, bear species. Like, I know, like, there's, like, a thing where it's, like, I forget which one it is. I know it's, like, with, like, black bears and brown bears. There's one where you're supposed to make a whole lot of noise to scare them away. Then there's another type where you're supposed to play dead. So I feel like, in that regard, if you kind of know what to do with certain types of bears to get them to leave you alone, shoot, you might have a better chance, with the bear. Someone else said, the more I think and talk about the bear versus man thing, the more horrifying it becomes. What does it say about us as men? The question is silly, but the answers are telling. We are feared, and I find that terrifying. And yeah, like, a lot of women find men scary. And like, we live in a world where women aren't allowed to reject men anymore. We aren't allowed to exist without being harassed, without being followed. Like, it's scary, and I don't understand how men at this point could just ignore that fact. It's like, no matter how many times women talk about it, how many times they share their stories, how many times we've literally seen videos and pictures of instances where, women weren't provoking the man, like they were just minding their own business, and the man just would spaz out. I literally just seen a video on Twitter where a man or a woman had rejected a man. I believe it was somewhere in New York City, and the man literally just poured milk all over her because she rejected him. We see stories like this time and time again, and I low-key made a video about this, about how scary it is to reject men nowadays, with that whole brick lady incident. But unfortunately, because it came out that the brick lady had lied, I got harassed by men saying that I needed to take the video down and that everything that I said was invalid, and that, because the lady lied, that, the things in that video that I was saying, aren't true anymore. And it's like, at the end of the day, whether that story was true or not, everything I said in that video still held true. true, which was that whole notion that a lot of women are put in harm's way because men can't handle rejection. A lot of men can't handle rejection. Not all. I hate that I have to give that disclaimer every single time. Not all men, but a lot of men out there can't handle rejection, and women are literally getting abused, they're getting beaten, they're getting followed, and they're getting unalived out here just because they don't want to give up their number, just because they don't want to engage in conversation. Like, I'm sorry, if I am out minding my own business, getting groceries, getting gas, whatever it is, I should have the right to not have to respond, whether the man is catcalling me or maybe not even catcalling. If he is just walking up to me and saying, you know, hey, how you doing? Can I get your number? I should be allowed to say no. And there shouldn't be any consequences for me saying no. But for some reason, there is a subset of men out there who believe that women are obligated to engage in conversation, to hand out their phone number, and it's the entitlement. It's just so crazy to me when it comes to men approaching women. Like, why do some men feel like women are obligated to speak to them, to give them a chance? Like, everybody's not gonna like you, everyone's not gonna be interested in you, not every woman is gonna want to date you. So I don't understand why there's this expectation that if you approach a woman, they have to engage in conversation, they have to entertain you, and then if they do reject you, you take it as like, you know, I mean, obviously you're gonna take it personal. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it personal, but they take it as like, oh, how dare you? Like, how dare you not speak to me? And, you know, and it also goes back to the whole notion of how a lot of men and how a lot of black men view black women nowadays. A lot of black men view black women as like the bottom of the totem pole, that we're undesired. And so they feel like we should be desperate, and they feel like we should just be open to anybody giving us a chance. Like, we're not allowed to have standards, we're not allowed to have choices and make decisions. And again, I'm just speaking from, you know, the black woman's perspective because I'm a black woman, but obviously this can happen in other communities as well. We literally seen women of all different races and shades answer this man versus bear question, and they pretty much all answered the same way for the most part, right? And so it's just this idea that men are entitled to women and their bodies and having access to them. It's just really, really weird. And it honestly brings me back to another conversation that was had a while back, where basically the question was posed to women specifically: what would you do if you had one day, if you had 24 hours where men did not exist on this planet? What would you do that you felt like you couldn't do before? Like, what would you do if there were like no men around? And women were saying like very basic stuff like, oh, I would go for a walk at night, I would fill up my gas tank at night. Like, there were just certain things that women were saying where, you know, it seems simple enough, but these are just simple things that women feel like they can't do by themselves at certain hours of the day because they're worried about getting harassed. Same way with women who purposely dress down when they go out because they don't want to worry about getting approached, because you never know what that could lead to. Just something as simple as a man asking for your number, that whole situation could end up terrible and traumatizing and deadly sometimes for women.
Okay, this one's for the girls. What would you do if men disappeared from Earth for 24 hours? I'll go first. Okay. I would take a run at night with both earphones in. I know, it's crazy, but that's what I would do. Girls, what would you do if men disappeared from Earth for 24 hours?
I would walk at night by myself. I would go to the club without having to take care of my drink the whole night, without having to make sure that nobody's trying to put any type of drugs in my drink. I would wear any clothes I wanted. I would live the way men currently live, without that fear of getting hurt. And I know, because I know y'all are gonna come in the comments like, not all men. I know that not all men are rapists, predators, murderers, catcallers. I know that. But a lot are. Not some. A lot. So yeah.
Did y'all know that there was a study done? I don't know when or where. You can Google it, but there was a study done that asked women if men were gone from this earth for just 24 hours, what they would do. Feel free to respond before I give you the top 3 answers. Ready? The first one, I would go for a walk in the dark, alone. Second one, I would wear whatever I want. And then the third one, I would sit under the stars. Speechless.
And, you know, Google is free. There's literally so many stories of women who have been in these situations where they were harmed because they rejected somebody. And I just feel like it needs to be addressed and acknowledged. And I feel like there's not enough conversation and there's not enough accountability being held on these men who act like this, who react like this. Like, there's like no shame, there's no consequence to these men who are out here acting like this. And so many times we see in these instances, right, where a man gets rejected and they spaz out, what do we often hear men say? Oh, the woman was probably rude to him, the woman probably provoked him. And again, now I say all day long that you shouldn't treat people any kind of way, but I'm sorry, if a woman rejects someone, I don't care if they're nice about it or rude about it, they don't deserve to get their life taken away. They don't deserve to be abused and harassed and followed. Like, what are you doing all that for? Like, I'm sorry. No, it's not right for a woman to be rude and mean and nasty to somebody just because they're not interested in them. That's not okay. But it also doesn't justify harm being inflicted on her either. And like I said, like I'm not the type of person anyway. Like, if someone were to approach me and I'm not interested, I'm not just gonna be mean and nasty to them unless I feel like they're being OD and like they're harassing me and they won't leave me alone. Then I probably have to get a little bit more stern. But, you know, initially I'll just politely be like, you know, it's okay. Or like I'll try to like give them my Instagram or something and then just like block them later. Like, I just try to do whatever it is that I can to kind of just get out that situation, because I know where it could lead to. And, you know, I've had my own encounters with men that have made me trust men less and less. Like, there was actually a point in time where I was also very fearful and nervous around men, because my interactions with men have just been very aggressive. Like, I've just had a lot of men be very mean to me, yell at me, scream in my face, hitting me, like not like punching me, like not punching me in my face, but just being very like physical and just constantly like hitting me. Even if I asked them to stop, like it just was, you know, still like hitting me and stuff. I think I've talked about in videos like years ago, so I'll bring it up again. But I had an incident in college. I don't remember if it was freshman year or sophomore year in college, but I had this incident where, you know, I was on campus and I was at the convenience store on campus, and there was this guy who I presume was one of the basketball players at my school, because he was extremely tall. But yeah, it was this really tall guy, black guy, and his girlfriend. And with the way, like with where they were in proximity to the cash register, it didn't look like they were in line, right? And so I got in front of them accidentally. I didn't know that they were already in line. I have no issue, like if I accidentally cut somebody in line, I have no issue being like, oh, okay, I'm so sorry, like, you know, go in front of me. But this man got so upset that I got in front of him and his girlfriend that he literally started like sizing me up and being like, what are you doing? Like, and mind you, I am, for anyone who hasn't seen me in real life, I am 5 foot. Okay, I'm 5 feet. I am very, very short. Okay, I'm very short. I'm very tiny. And so you got this over 6 foot guy hovering over me, like doing like this over top of me, because I cut him and his girlfriend in line. So his girlfriend was like, no, it's okay. Like, calm down. Like, and I'm just like, fam. And so I just, you know, I've talked about too about how I just haven't had men treat me the best in general. Like, I've had men who would hold hold the door for women that were in front of me, but then when the door got to me, they would let the door close. Like, I have just not been treated the best by men in general. So I'm just always very iffy about being around men, especially if I'm around men in a setting where it's like it's only men in the room, or if it's me and someone else that I don't know and that I'm not cool with, you know, and we're like by ourselves. Like, I just get very like nervous and anxious around men because I just have not had a good experience, and I feel like I haven't been treated the best by men, whether it be strangers, friendships, relationships. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I've gotten a lot of aggression towards men, and I don't deal with that well at all, and it does make me very uncomfortable. So I am also someone that's very on guard. Like, you know, if I'm out somewhere, like, I'm just very like hyper aware of who's around me and if someone is looking at me a certain kind of way, and I'm just very, so I get it. Like, this is a very real thing for women, especially for women that are, you know, out and about, you know, on their own by themselves. These are all things that we think about. And so I'm not surprised at all that women are like, you know, maybe I got a better chance with the bear, because maybe they've had situations with men in the past that, you know, they just felt completely unsafe. They felt like they had no control and that they weren't able to get out of those situations. And so they're like, man, at this point, I just take the bear, you know? And because a lot of men don't have to deal with that, you know, when they're going out and about, they don't have to worry about women. Again, I'm saying for the most part, I'm not saying this has never happened ever in history. I don't know. But I think it's safe to say that for the most part, if a man goes to, you know, fill up his gas tank, or if a man, you know, goes on a Target trip, they don't have to worry about women, you know, harassing them, throwing something on them because they said no or rejected them. They don't necessarily have to worry about feeling unsafe around women. Again, not all, but I feel like most men don't have to worry about that in their day-to-day, but most women do. So before I wrap up, I wanted to go through and see some of the other responses that people have said about this topic. Someone said, reading men's responses to the man versus bear debate makes me wonder if women and men live in different realities. You know, I said that, like, a lot of men, you know, they don't even have to think about these things. So for them, it's like, oh, well, common sense. I just would choose another man. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, because most men are safe around other men, you know? So they don't have to think about these things. Someone said this whole bear versus man conversation is showing just how entitled men are. Won't even take no as an answer to a hypothetical question. Y'all are getting upset because women said they would rather be alone with a bear than you. Even as a gay man, a man who loves men, y'all scare me. Yeah, you know, I think that, again, I don't necessarily think that the men that are online giving some of these very insensitive takes, I don't think that they represent the majority. I feel like that's important to say. Like, obviously, some of these men don't represent all men, obviously, but the fact that there are men out there who, you know, again, are blaming the women and, you know, trying to make up all these scenarios to justify, you know, why they wouldn't pick a man, I think it's just weird, and it's sad, and, you know, it's just another thing to be aware of. Someone said, no one's upset they chose the bear. We're trying to understand the logic, because as men are wired to assess the dangerous scenarios and potential threats, bears are clearly a bigger threat. And then someone responded saying, I mean, to simplify it, the biggest reasoning for choosing the bear is women don't want to be SA'd. Whether the odds of that happening are high or low is still a possibility, because you never know. Then someone said there's a 97% chance the man will be a normal guy who will help or just wave and move on. There's a 50% at best you won't get attacked by a bear. Choosing the 50% over the 97% is illogical and emotional. Again, I don't think you can just throw out a number out there to say there's a 97% chance that the man won't do anything harmful. I think you can't just blatantly say that. It just goes to show you, like, the differences between, you know, how men show up in this world and how they interact with men versus women and what they go through, you know? Because from a man's perspective, they probably are thinking it's the super duper low percentage of men, that it doesn't happen a whole lot. But literally just go around, you know, ask your family members, ask your female friends, ask around to see, like, how many women have actually had to deal with extremely, you know, scary and unsafe situations around men. And, you know, I've never really spoken about this publicly, but I've also been SA'd twice. It was years ago. It was like years and years and years ago. It's no one that anyone anyone currently in my life even knows. Like, this was back like years ago. But yeah, one person I didn't know, the other person I knew very well. Like, again, like, these things actually happen more than you realize. And so I encourage all the men out there, if you are a little confused as to why women are choosing the bear, just be open and receptive to what women are sharing, you know, and hearing out, you know, their stories, and really keeping an open mind to what some of us women go through when, you know, we're out and about and we're dealing with men. Because although, yes, a lot of y'all, you know, I'm sure are great people that would never harm, you know, women for no reason, but unfortunately there is enough of y'all who do that to women. You put them in harmful situations, you harm them, you harass them, you assault them, you abuse them, and you do worse. There's enough of y'all who do that to make the vast majority of women feel like they are unsafe. And so I think that if we, you know, stop with the gender wars for a second and actually be open to having these discussions, I think it's an important conversation to have, which is why I wanted to talk about it on camera, because I think this could be an opportunity to really have a serious conversation. And instead of being so divided and trying to find reasons to blame women or blame men, try to loop, you know, all men under one category, I think if anything, it brings about an opportunity for us to really have a serious conversation about this and hold people accountable and really have the conversation as to why this is happening, how can we stop things like this from happening, and how we can, you know, shift the mindset from where women don't feel like they have to pick the bear. You know, I think it says a lot that women are picking the bear, and I really encourage men out there to be mindful of, you know, not only how, you know, you might treat women or how you might approach women, but also your homeboys as well. Hold your homeboys accountable. If you feel like they on some goofy stuff, like, call them out, hold them accountable. Like, because obviously, you know, women, we've been screaming to the rooftops, you know, about this for a really long time, but I think it's now up to the men to also hold other men accountable. And, you know, if you're out and you see a woman that is being harassed or being mistreated, you know, I'm not saying you have to be a hero per se, but at least call the police or get some authorities. Or, you know, if you're at the store, you know, get an employee or something. You know, you don't necessarily have to jump in and, you know, jump the person if you don't want to. But, you know, I think it's important to, you know, look out for each other and make women feel like, you know, we are actually safe out here. And I know there's gonna be people that say like, oh, well, I'm not going to protect anybody unless they're my wife or they're my kid. Okay, cool. But even to that point, right, if your wife and kid, say you had a daughter, right, and they were being harassed by some random man, I'm willing to bet that you would want someone to step in if something was happening to them and you weren't able to get there in time or you weren't in the area. So, you know, just put yourself in other people's shoes and, you know, really be open to having these discussions. So that way and be open to having these discussions, not in a way to be combative and to draw a divide, but to see how we can progress and move forward, and, you know, and seeing how we can come together to make these environments safer for everyone, you know. But yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll post a question to you all. You know, would you choose a bear or would you choose a man? Let me know in the comments down below. Keep the conversations respectful as always, and if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead, give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.